On the west coast of Africa, hidden among a maze of beautiful tropical islands and mangroves, lies Guinea-Bissau, one of the most enigmatic and least explored destinations on the planet, a territory where women rule. Known as the Kingdom of Women, this nation surprises the world with its matriarchal structure, where women choose their lovers and husbands, are allowed to change partners as often as they wish, and even control decision-making, to the point that if a man wants to hunt, fish, or go out dancing, he must ask their permission. All of this is deeply connected to the preservation of their culture and traditions, with legends of betrayal between an ancient king and queen that you will soon discover, which have remained almost intact for centuries. Due to these traditions, many people in this country do not wear underwear, and it is possible to find islands ruled by ancestral queens, floating villages and markets, villages where women choose their husbands and decide the fate of the community, as well as rituals shrouded in secrecy, dances with sacred masks, and even villages that live in total harmony with the most lethal predator to humans in Africa. Pay attention and don't miss this video, because in addition to these fascinating cultural curiosities, we will explore one of West Africa's best-kept secrets, an archipelago lost among mangroves and red sands, where the sea mixes with the jungle, and the islands seem to have been trapped in time. A place so remote, wild, and enigmatic that you will find it hard to believe it really exists. Let's get started. In Guinea-Bissau, a legend survives, a true story that seems straight out of an ancient tale. In this country, there are remote islands where queens still rule, while men must ask permission even for everyday tasks such as fishing. A matriarchy that is not a symbol of the past, but of a present that makes it one of the most extraordinary countries on the planet today. Guinea-Bissau is one of West Africa's best-kept secrets, a tiny country barely mentioned in geography books, wedged between Senegal to the north and Guinea to the south, with the Atlantic Ocean washing its western coast. But despite its modest size, comparable to countries such as Belgium or El Salvador, Guinea-Bissau is home to a geography unique in the entire African continent. A natural paradise made up of more than 80 islands, mangroves that wind through hidden channels, tropical jungles that merge with the sea, and secluded beaches that seem to have come from another time. Much of its territory is covered by wetlands and dense forests that make land access difficult, making this country a virtually untouched place, untouched by mass tourism. Its coastline, dotted with uninhabited islands, forms part of the Bijagos archipelago, declared a biosphere reserve by UNESCO, where it is still possible to see marine hippos, giant turtles, and villages ruled by women. Some stories tell of an ancient male betrayal that pushed women to take control of this society. We will soon discover this story, but although there is no historical evidence of this rebellion, the truth is that in this country it is women who rule, especially on the islands known as the Bijagos Islands, a place where female power is not a legend, it is law. But before we get to these legends and realities, let's start by discovering the origins and recent history of this country. The name Guinea-Bissau has Portuguese origins, a legacy of its colonial past. The word Guinea comes from the Berber term Aginau, which means land of black people, and was used by Portuguese explorers to name this entire region of sub-Saharan Africa. The addition of Bissau refers to its capital, and was introduced after independence to differentiate it from other countries with similar names, such as Guinea and Equatorial Guinea. Although Portuguese is the official language, in practice very few people speak it on a daily basis. Most of the population communicates in Creole, a Creole language based on Portuguese, or in traditional African languages such as Balanta, Fula, or Mandinka. With an extremely low population density, well below the African average, Guinea-Bissau is one of the least populated countries on the continent. This low density, combined with its fragmented geography and lack of modern infrastructure, has helped to preserve its ancestral traditions virtually intact. As a result, there are isolated villages and islands lost among mangroves where secret initiation rituals are still performed, and matriarchal communities where women choose their husbands and nature is revered as if time had stood still. We will soon discover this reality in detail. Despite its cultural and natural wealth, this country is unfortunately one of the poorest in the world. Political instability, lack of foreign investment, and poor tourist infrastructure have hindered its economic development. But perhaps that is precisely why it remains so authentic, mysterious, and surprising. A place that seems suspended in time, untouched by the hustle and bustle of the modern world. Traditional clothing, or the almost total absence of it, is also part of this unique identity. During many festivals, especially on the Bijagos archipelago islands ruled by women, women participate with their breasts uncovered, adorned with minimal skirts woven from plant fibers, colorful necklaces, and elaborate body paint. Far from any Western interpretation, this has no intimate connotations, but rather symbolizes beauty, strength, fertility, and a spiritual connection to ancestors. In addition, the country's hot and humid climate favors this type of light clothing both on these islands and in many other regions of the country, where most people do not even wear underwear, a practice that is as natural as it is functional for those who have lived in these environments for centuries. In Guinea-Bissau, one of the most striking features is the presence of floating villages and markets, which seem to come from another world. These floating settlements are found in mangrove areas, where water covers much of the land. In these places, houses and daily activities take place on floating platforms, known as palafitos, built with local materials such as wood, cane, and other natural elements, adapting to the tidal conditions and flooding that are common in the region. These villages have a unique character, as their inhabitants have learned to live in perfect symbiosis with the water and the land, carrying out their daily lives on the water, which is not seen in many other places in the world. Floating markets are one of the best examples of this fascinating relationship with the aquatic environment. These markets, which are also built on floating platforms in the mangrove channels, are the center of commercial exchange for local communities. People travel in small boats, which serve as both transportation and points of sale, facilitating access to the region's essential resources. Here you can find typical regional products such as seafood, fresh fish, tropical fruits, and handicrafts. In addition, one of the fundamental elements of the country's economy is rice, which is grown in much of its lowlands. This grain, which is the main staple food of the population, is also traded in these floating markets where it is commonly found alongside other local products. What is extraordinary about these floating villages is the adaptability of their inhabitants, who have learned to live and thrive in an aquatic environment that not only provides them with sustenance, but also allows them to preserve their ancestral customs. The existence of these settlements in the middle of the mangroves of Guinea-Bissau is a testament to human creativity and resilience in the face of nature. But surely even more striking than these floating villages is this country's amazing relationship with the natural world. A connection so deep that it allows its inhabitants to live without fear alongside hippos, one of the most dangerous animals on the planet, and the most lethal predator on the African continent. At this point, we have already highlighted the hippopotamus as one of Africa's most lethal predators. However, there is an animal even more lethal to humans on this continent. So we would like to take this opportunity to ask you, what do you think is the most lethal animal to humans in Africa? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. It takes very little effort and, as you know, it's the best way you can help us grow and continue working to bring you the best content every week, so thank you. In places like Orango Grande Island, the only community on the continent where a queen rules the entire society, a reality that may be the result of a legend that you will soon discover in more detail. These giant hippos still exist. Although they normally live in rivers and lakes, they have managed to adapt to the salty environment of the mangroves and coastal lagoons, becoming the rarest of their species as they swim in the Atlantic Ocean. These powerful animals, which are responsible for more human deaths on this continent than any other predator, have adapted to life in saltwater and on the island of Orango Grande, it is possible to see them swimming freely among the mangroves and along the coast. To give us an idea of their lethality, it is estimated that lions cause between 20 and 30 deaths per year, while crocodiles cause around 200. However, the true king of this dark ranking in Africa is the hippopotamus, which kills more than 500 people every year, more than 15 times the number of victims of lions, and 3 times more than crocodiles. The reason for this lethality is that hippos are extremely territorial, especially in water, and have enormous strength and jaws that can cause fatal injuries in a matter of seconds. But in Guinea-Bissau, despite their dangerous nature, local inhabitants share their space without fear, and sometimes even swimmers dive close to them, defying the general perception of these animals as lethal and terrifying. It is a unique phenomenon in the world that reflects Guinea-Bissau's impressive and sometimes challenging relationship with nature. This harmonious coexistence with such powerful animals would be unthinkable in most countries, but in Guinea-Bissau, it is part of everyday life. For many, these hippos are considered spiritual guardians of the waters, and their presence is respected and often celebrated. Despite the fascinating coexistence between the inhabitants of Guinea-Bissau and hippos, there is an animal with an even more fearsome reputation, the most lethal animal in both Africa and the entire world: the mosquito. This small insect, which seems harmless, is responsible for more than 1 million deaths per year globally, and Guinea-Bissau is no exception to this threat, mainly due to diseases such as malaria, dengue fever, and the Zika virus. To combat this and other dangers, the country's inhabitants preserve unique and deeply spiritual traditions. In this country, more than half of the population practices animist religions, often alongside Islam or Christianity, creating a combination of beliefs and practices from different religions that is unique in the world. It is therefore not uncommon to find altars dedicated to ancestral spirits next to large mosques or churches, or to see ancient rituals being celebrated in the midst of the digital age. In some of these sacred ceremonies, mystical masks and secret rites take center stage. There, the mythical masks of the Njambas and Irans, ancestral spirits from the invisible world, come to life during initiation rituals reserved only for initiated members. These masks, carved by hand and imbued with symbolic power, are not mere adornments. They represent spiritual entities that inhabit the mangroves, the jungle, and the sea. They are mediators between the living and the dead, protectors of social order and natural cycles. Some rituals on the Bijagos Islands are so secret that only a few can witness them. They are performed under the cover of night, with hypnotic chants, trance dances, and drums that seem to communicate with the spirits. Only the wise, the chosen, and, above all, powerful women know their true meaning. In places like the Bijagos Islands, it is always the women who decide who can and cannot be part of these mysteries. These islands, located off the coast of Guinea-Bissau, are not only a natural paradise of pristine beaches, dense jungles, and crystal-clear waters, but they are also known for being the epicenter of a unique social system that has endured for centuries. On the Bijagos Islands, women rule with an iron fist, governing with firmness and wisdom over all aspects of daily life. Here, they not only run the households, but are also responsible for making crucial decisions that affect the entire community. These islands are also a natural paradise in its purest form. Their waters, surrounded by coral reefs, offer a safe haven for an impressive diversity of marine species. The lush vegetation and biodiversity, including untouched tropical forests and rare birds, make them a unique destination for nature lovers. Furthermore, their geographical isolation has allowed these islands to preserve virtually untouched ecosystems, far from pollution and modernity. The beauty of their landscapes, from desert beaches to dense mangroves, not only attracts travelers, but also makes them a spiritual sanctuary for the communities that have lived there for generations. These communities have a past and legends that have much to do with why matriarchy has managed to withstand the passage of time and external influences. maintaining a social order where women are central in all spheres of life. It is believed that this system of government has persisted on these islands since ancient times, mainly due to their isolated geography and economy based on fishing and agriculture. In a society where cooperation was key to survival, women who were responsible for the most essential tasks and had greater empathy and communication skills began to take on natural leadership roles. Over the centuries, a deep connection developed between the power of these women and the spiritual beliefs of the Bajagos, and thus matriarchy was reinforced by the need to maintain harmony with the protective spirits of the islands, who, according to tradition, communicated through rituals, especially with women. The story of the Queen of Orango, who stands as the symbol of this female authority and founded one of the most extraordinary monarchies in the world, is one of the tales that best illustrates the reasons behind the absolute power of women on these islands. The story of Queen Naira, who defended her throne for decades, is the best known among the legends of Orango. During the 15th century, Orango, one of the largest islands in the archipelago, was already ruled by a queen who maintained peace and order through the spiritual principles that governed the community. Over the centuries, her lineage was strengthened by the belief that only women could preserve the balance between humans and spirits. In these times, Queen Naira was the guardian of ancestral wisdom. During her reign, women continued to rule the island, ensuring that power was not distorted. For the community, Queen Naira was a key spiritual figure in initiation ceremonies, where young people were introduced to the spiritual world under her guidance. However, the peace of Orango began to be threatened by an intruder. King Makonnen, leader of a neighboring island, began to question the rules of matriarchy in this region of the planet. His ambition for absolute control of the island led him to seek ways to challenge female leadership. In his mind, the power of Orango should rest with men, and he, a descendant of a powerful line of African warriors, considered himself the only one capable of leading it. Thus, he began to form secret alliances with other men in the region who also believed that matriarchy limited their prosperity. The moment of confrontation came during Orango's annual sacred ceremony. This ceremony, crucial to ensuring the spiritual balance of the island, was to be led by Queen Naira. During the ritual, the queen received the blessing of the gods through a sacred sacrifice that protected the community. However, King Makonnen had other plans. Makonnen secretly allied himself with priests from the island of Orango, with the intention of invoking the power of the male gods, and thus breaking the ancient pact that maintained order in Orango. At the most crucial moment of the ritual, Makonnen interrupted the ceremony and presented one of his own warriors as a sacrifice, seeking to gain power directly from the spirits. Queen Naira, surprised by this bold action, tried to stop the ritual, but not before a catastrophic spiritual fury was unleashed that would change everything. According to local legends, the spirits of nature, enraged by the violation of sacred laws, unleashed a curse that began to alter the balance of the island. In the days that followed, Orango began to suffer strange phenomena. The seas became turbulent, crops began to fail, and even some animals attacked the villages. Queen Naira, realizing that the fury of the spirits was the consequence of Makonnen's unholy sacrifice, tried to restore order, but the spirits of the island would not allow the balance to be restored without a price. King Makonnen, seeing that the curse also affected his own kingdom, tried to flee, but soon discovered that his lineage was threatened. The spirits of Orango ensured that he would have no male descendants, sealing his fate as the last king of his line in this region. The betrayal he had carried out not only destroyed his lineage, but also strengthened the power of women, who stood firm as the guardians of the balance of these islands. Amidst this chaos, Queen Naira, stronger than ever, performed a secret ritual to appease the spirits and restore balance. This rite, more powerful than any other, established Orango as an unbreakable kingdom that would be ruled for centuries by women alone. Thus, by restoring peace and order, this queen became a symbol of resistance and wisdom, not only for her people but also for the nearby islands. King Makonnen's betrayal ultimately destroyed his lineage and consolidated the matriarchy, leaving an enduring legend in the collective memory of the Bijagos Islands. Legends aside, the matriarchy of Orango and the Bijagos Islands remains one of the most fascinating and mysterious social systems in the world. In this corner of the planet, women not only lead, but also set the rules in almost every aspect of life. Some of their practices can be understood as a reflection of the remote and unspoiled geography and the local economy, while others seem to be marked by an ancestral culture full of rituals and beliefs that continue to surprise those who discover them. Surely the most surprising aspect of Bijago society has to do with the extreme freedom with which women can manage their personal and intimate relationships. Unlike many other places, here it is women who have the final say in romantic and sexual matters. Bijago women have the ability to choose their husbands, and the most curious thing is that, if they wish, they can change partners as many times as they want throughout their lives. This system of choice not only offers women greater autonomy, but can also ensure better care of the land and livestock, as alliances and bonds are established strategically, without having to adhere to the conventions of lifelong marriage that are more common for most of us. In this sense, matriarchy adapts to the practical needs of the community, favoring a more flexible and dynamic structure. In contrast to female liberation, Bijago men do not enjoy the same level of autonomy in essential activities such as fishing, hunting, and even leisure time. In fact, in order to participate in these tasks, they must ask permission from the women, who are responsible for managing natural resources and distributing tasks on the island. This practice reflects the historical distrust of male power in this region, which, according to some local legends such as those you have heard, dates back to the figure of Queen Naira. In addition to productive activities, Bijago women also control access to leisure and social celebrations. During festivities, which are crucial for maintaining community cohesion, it is the women who organize the events and decide who can participate in certain activities. Men, although essential to some of these celebrations, must follow the guidelines set by women in order to participate in moments of leisure. This control also extends to dances and ritual ceremonies, which are the main form of leisure in the community. In many of these events, women take the lead in organizing and supervising traditional dances, which often have an erotic and symbolic connotation related to fertility and desire. Although men participate, it is the women who lead the choreography and determine the dynamics of the celebration. In this context, dance is not only a form of entertainment, but also a way of reaffirming women's power over the social and spiritual life of the community. In the Bijagos Islands, the courtship dynamic has a fascinating feature. It is the women who take the initiative in choosing a partner. This matriarchal system is reflected in practices such as the giving of food as a symbol of romantic interest. On these islands, the marshy lowlands are especially fertile for growing rice, which is the region's main agricultural product. This abundance of rice is combined with fishing, another essential activity in the local economy, to form the community's food base, and women often prepare succulent dishes with these ingredients to seduce their future husbands or lovers. Another very curious aspect of this country is the clothing of its people. Many women in Guinea-Bissau are known for wearing very little clothing, which is not only a reflection of the local culture but also a form of implicit seduction. Often, both men and women do not wear underwear, wearing light garments that barely cover their bodies, which is also linked to the sensual dances that are part of their cultural tradition, and has a very direct relationship with the country's warm climate. Returning to the Bijago women and matriarchy in other parts of the country, in addition to their role in relationships, women are responsible for managing land and natural resources, which gives them fundamental power in sustaining the community. Interestingly, in a world where men often take the initiative in romantic matters, on the Bijago Islands the rules are reversed. Normally, it is the women who bring the men to their homes, and not the other way around, as is the case in many other parts of the world. This system ensures that resources are distributed equitably, maintaining ecological balance and guaranteeing the stability of the community. It is therefore considered not only an ancestral tradition, but rather an adaptive strategy that has ensured the prosperity of the islands for generations. In the social structure of the Bijagos Islands, there are also castes and clans, which are controlled by women. These structures not only determine the hierarchical order within the community, but the most important decisions, both in terms of politics and religion, are made by women. They are responsible for leading religious rituals, and some, as priestesses, have power over the most important decisions of the group. These spiritual leaders are seen as guardians of ancestral knowledge and traditions, which gives them respect and influence that goes beyond the political sphere. One of the most striking aspects of Bijago education is the initiation into intimate relationships, which is part of the socialization process for adolescent girls. These rituals, transmitted orally, are performed without taboos and with a respectful approach to the body and intimate life. Education about love and desire is seen as a natural part of life, and young people are prepared to understand their role in building intimate relationships within the community. For all these reasons, the Bijago Islands remain a unique example of how a matriarchy can function, effectively adapting to the economic, spiritual, and social needs of the community, while preserving a cultural identity that is unique in the world. This system highlights how women's power can be as valuable as, and sometimes more valuable than, that of men, showcasing a society where women are the pillars of well-being and social organization. Unfortunately, globalization and resource scarcity are severely affecting the region. As young people from the islands seek better educational and employment opportunities on the mainland and abroad, the traditional communities of the Bijagos are beginning to fall apart. Emigration to the cities, driven by a lack of infrastructure, employment, and basic services, is leaving its mark on the social structure of the islands. The younger generations, exposed to outside influences, tend to adapt to more patriarchal and urban models, which is gradually weakening the traditional matriarchy. At this point, we would like to ask you, what do you think about the existence of regions where women are in charge? What do you think about them being the ones who allow or forbid men to hunt, fish, or go dancing? And do you think it is right that they are the ones who seduce men? Pause the video and leave us your comment. We would love to read it and hear your opinion. As you know, this is the best way you can help and support us to continue creating videos as interesting as this one, so thank you. Guinea-Bissau is also a land of ancient wisdom. In the remotest corners of the country, especially in the dense forests of the interior and on the islands, traditional medicine remains the first choice for many communities. In these jungles, healers, often spiritual figures of great authority, prepare natural remedies using roots, bark, leaves, and minerals collected in the jungle. These recipes, passed down orally for centuries, not only heal the body but also the soul. Every plant has a spirit, every ailment a story, and every healing a ritual. With nature in mind, the pristine beaches of Guinea-Bissau are true wildlife sanctuaries. On some of the islands of the Bijagos archipelago, which consists of around 88 islands, many of them uninhabited or barely touched by humans, giant sea turtles come to lay their eggs every year, making it one of the most impressive natural spectacles in the region. With white sandy beaches surrounded by crystal clear waters and mangrove forests, the archipelago is home to an impressive biodiversity and is considered a biosphere reserve by UNESCO. It is a refuge for wildlife, which finds a safe space to reproduce and thrive in its waters and beaches. On moonlit nights, the sand on many of these beaches is filled with ancient silhouettes emerging from the ocean to give life to the next generation. Rarely has a coastal ecosystem been so well preserved. The lack of tourism has been an unintended blessing, allowing these corners to remain almost untouched, as if time had stood still. In addition to turtles, the Bijagos Islands are home to a wide variety of migratory birds, dolphins, and other marine species, making them a crucial destination for eco-tourists interested in wildlife viewing and natural wonders. At this point, you're probably wondering how to plan a visit to fascinating Guinea-Bissau. At Uncensored World, we've compiled all the essential information you need to make the most of your adventure. in this unique corner of Africa. To get there, the most common option is to fly to Banjul, the capital of Gambia, and then take a short flight to Bissau, the capital of Guinea-Bissau. Although air connectivity to Guinea-Bissau is not extensive, international flights from other African countries are a good option. You can also choose to travel by road from nearby countries such as Senegal, although this option can be more adventurous and complicated due to road conditions in some areas. Keep in mind that you will need a valid passport to enter, and most travelers do not require a visa for short stays, but it is always advisable to check the specific entry requirements before traveling. Guinea-Bissau offers travelers a unique experience in terms of both landscapes and costs. It is one of the cheapest countries in Africa, making it an ideal destination for those seeking a great adventure at a low cost. The cost of living in Guinea-Bissau is considerably low compared to many other regions of the world. Accommodation options are also very affordable, with basic rooms available from around $20 per night in major cities. For those looking for a little more comfort, 3-star hotels in Banjul and Bissau have an average price of between $30 and $50 per night. Prices are even lower in the low season, allowing you to find good deals if you plan ahead. As for gastronomy, local dishes, which include rice, fish, and fresh seafood, are delicious and very affordable. You can enjoy a full meal for as little as $5 in local restaurants. If you prefer something more sophisticated, prices will still be relatively low compared to international standards. To get around the country, the main cities are connected by paved roads, but it is important to know that some rural routes can be more difficult to navigate due to terrain conditions. In terms of safety, Guinea-Bissau is a relatively peaceful destination, although it is important to remain alert, as in any other country. Crime is low in tourist areas, but it is advisable to avoid areas that are not well frequented at night, and not to display valuables in public. At Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of the wonders and curiosities of Guinea-Bissau has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and considering the effort that goes into making these videos, we would love for you to give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave us a nice comment. It's the best way to help us keep bringing you fascinating content every week. If you enjoyed this video, and you're not already subscribed, don't wait any longer and do it now, activating the bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Don't miss other videos like this one, where we take you to discover one of the most enigmatic and wonderful corners of the planet.